Welcome to Digital Asset News. Take the top stories in cryptocurrency and digital assets and break them down into bite-sized pieces. Today, got some pretty interesting things going on. First up, Revolut will make crypto available in 50 states. This is going to be a new, what's called a neobank, and how it's going to affect everyone in the United States. Plus, Ripple claims a big win in the elusive quest to use cryptocurrency and banking as they pair up with another big player in the cross-border payment system. And Ripple in the news again as they can't escape an XRP lawsuit it says could topple the market. And this is an old lawsuit that's been going on for a while, and the opportunity to dismiss this case was rejected by the judge, and what this is going to mean for Ripple and XRP moving forward. And finally, we'll talk about a story that doesn't seem too big at first, where it talks about fake horses and real bets. Unicorn is putting racetracks, non-fungible tokens on Ethereum, and why this doesn't seem like a big story in the beginning. But as I read into it and look deeper, this is going to be a huge story for the cryptocurrency digital asset market. And also at the very end, we're going to go over the scam of the day, but we'll do that at the very end after all of these stories that we go through. So let's get going. First up, Revolut will make crypto available in 50 states. Now, this is a big thing for me because I live in Texas, and if you're in Texas and New York and some other different states throughout the U.S., you cannot buy certain cryptocurrencies on certain platforms, which is a real pain. So Revolut is a bank that is coming into the states, and they're going to be able to make that available for all the states regardless of what happens. So I'm kind of excited on that. But here it talks about Revolut is coming to smartphones near you with an array of cryptocurrencies. Revolut is one of the biggest fintechs in Europe. If you're not familiar with it, because I wasn't, I'm not in Europe, I'm in the US. Revolut is just like I said, it's called a neobank. They have, no physical locations. They have no bank branches. It's just everything that exists on the internet, which is kind of like how things are going to anyhow. I thought it was cool because I have a couple of different bank accounts, personal and business, and the one that I have for business is just plain awful. So I've actually signed up for the business account. I'm waiting for them to get back to me. I'm going to see exactly what this is, but just kind of cool because it just has different opportunities, different things it does, like the same thing that a bank would do. And I just was looking through. I'm like, wow, the money's projected up to $250,000, which is a normal standard thing for the FDIC. Able to make payments automatically. Offers cryptocurrency, and that's fantastic. I like that. But the big question I have is, if Revolut is doing so well with online banking, why get into cryptocurrency market? Seems kind of, as some different banks would consider, kind of like a little bit dangerous. And this is where it gets interesting. So in the article, it states Revolut is already well established in Europe. It allows users to buy and sell Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, and XRP for one of 29 fiat currencies. Revolut expects to start offering the same services to the US. And then Dan Westgarth is a general manager for the North America branch, and he believes that Square is its biggest competitor. And when I read that at first, I was like, why does he think Square is his biggest competitor? Wouldn't it be like, Bank of America, USAA, Chase Bank, all these different big banks that would be his competitors? And what it really comes down to is this next article I uncovered, where it talks about Bitcoin drove half of Square's Cash App revenue in the fourth quarter. If you don't know who this guy is, that's Jack Dorsey, and he's the CEO of Twitter and the Cash Square app. And when I read that, I'm like, that's interesting. Half of the revenue? That seems like quite a bit of dough. So here it talks about in this fourth quarter of 2019, revenue results in a shareholder letter released Wednesday, and that would be February 27th, I believe, 26th. It reported Bitcoin revenue of $178 million between October 1st and December 31st. The non-Bitcoin revenue on the Cash App in the same quarter was $183 million, so half and half. So I was like, well, that's a lot of money. That's pretty good for a digital asset or cryptocurrency that a lot of banks are shunning right now. So what happened? Well, Jack Dorsey is a huge believer into it. And it kind of begs the question, like, well, if this happened so well for, the Cash App, and what's going to happen in the future for the other banks? Well, we see like this other bank, Revolut, getting into the fray. So like, well, listen, if we can get half of our revenue from just normal banking customers, and then we can get the other half of the revenue, or double our revenue essentially, by offering cryptocurrencies. Why wouldn't we do it? So if this is happening here, I don't want to make something that's the most obvious statement of all time, but banks are greedy. And if they see one bank making money on some type of service, they're going to start to jump in. I think that's what's happening with all these different custodial services that we're seeing in the European Union, different parts of South America, and it's what is going to eventually come to the States once all of the legislation is figured out through Congress. So I think it's a big win-win for everybody. But more to this whole point was when they talked about this financial call, they said later in the call that Chief Financial Officer Amrita Ahua said once a cash user starts using the app's Bitcoin or investing features, they tend to generate 2 to 3 times the revenue of regular users. So that's just what we call in marketing an upsell. You've seen this before. You buy one thing on Amazon, they're like, hey, if you like these shoes, you might also like these laces, and also these shoe cleaners, and also these polish, and all blah, blah, blah. It's just an upsell. Now, and banks are no different. Now they've got another opportunity to just upsell their clients like, hey, if you like, business checking accounts and interest rates, which suck right now in banks, but if you like those things, maybe you might also like this thing called cryptocurrencies, which are a hot new item, which actually did extremely well. Actually, it outdid every other asset class in 2019, even oil and the S&P 500 and gold. So if you want to get into that, we offer that now. And that's just another service that your friendly neighborhood Bank of America or whoever else is going to do it will offer their clients. It only makes sense. But here's the interesting thing. During the third quarter of 2018, Square yielded only $43 million in Bitcoin revenue through its Cash App. So they went from $43 million in Q3 2018 to $178 million in Q4 2019. There is no other type of asset class or service that they can get that kind of return for what they are doing. And you're going to see, Square was the first. I got to give it hats off to Jack Dorsey. He knows exactly what he's doing. Revolut's the second, and then we're going to see a lot of banks, I think, FOMOing in as time moves on. All right, that's it for the story. Moving on. Next up, Ripple claims a big win in the elusive quest to use crypto in banking. And this was an article by Fortune. It talks about Asimo. CEO Richard Ambrose said using Ripple's XRP product known as on-demand liquidity has saved his company 30% to 50% when arranging currency transfers between customers in the Philippines and those in the UK and Europe. Ambrose described the process as a fast and efficient bridge between remittance markets. So here's just another example of real-world utility where Ripple has gone out and they've said, look, we have a cross-border remittance service. You can use our X Current, which is just like a messaging service, just to make sure things get there. And Ripple is just a software company. That's all they are. They are a software company and they sell software to banks. They say, and then when they get in there, they're like, okay, you guys can use this, but if you want to go to the next level and save more money, make things a lot faster, and have on-demand liquidity where you don't have to pre-fund anything, you can use this handy-dandy product called XRP. And this is what's going on here. And this is what the banks are moving towards. So I like these types of articles, and it shows that, look, you can use cryptocurrency right now, today, to save money, to speed things up, and increase the bottom line of your company. It's a win-win for everybody. But later on in this article, it gets a little dicey. And I think this is the thing that some of the detractors of Ripple and XRP say. And tell me what you think in the comments below, because here's my portfolio: Bitcoin, XRP, Ethereum, Chainlink, EOS, and Cardano. So if you see that I'm talking about these things a lot, it's because I'm biased, and I'm just trying to be as transparent as possible. However, I will say this: I do not care what project goes up, as long as it's cryptocurrency project. Okay, if Bitcoin goes up, fantastic. That's cryptocurrency, and I'm invested into it. If Tron goes up, great. I don't own Tron. I used to, but if that goes up, that just brings more attention to the cryptocurrency digital asset space. If Tomato Coin goes up, or Dogecoin, or whatever Cohen goes, I don't care as long as it's in cryptocurrency because it's going to bring attention to this space. And I think that's kind of, the message I try to bring out as much as possible to all the maximalists. Just calm down. Your coin is not the end all be all and cannot do everything. We need help. That's just how I see it. Anyhow, going on with this article, it talks about the negative aspects, which was how skeptics can point to earlier partnerships, like with Western Union. I think in Western Union in 2018, they had a small trial run, Ripple and Western Union, and the CEO came out and said, you know what, XRP didn't reduce the company's cost whatsoever, which is weird because I think in the beginning he did. Then he came out and said, no, it sucks, doesn't work, and they stopped using it. But that's what prompted Ripple to go, all right, well, we'll just go to one of your competitors, MoneyGram, and we'll buy into them, and then we'll see what we can do there. And MoneyGram, if you didn't understand, they were circling the drain. They were really going down. And this last quarter, they still were at a loss, but they were at less of a loss than what they did in Q1. So they're actually turning their fortunes around just by using XRP, saving money, faster on-demand liquidity. Lastly, it talks about Ambrose of Asimo, says his company will be paid by Ripple, but that money is to offset the technology investment it must make for its infrastructure. Ambrose added that the payments are small compared to the cost savings Asimo will reap from using Ripple, which he said is often misunderstood. So, look, any city that you live in, I don't care where you live, there's always some type of big business that is trying to come in and build something. Let's just take a stadium, right? I used to live in El Paso, Texas for a number of years. And in El Paso, we had an organization come in and said, hey, we want to build a stadium here. And, the local government said, great, we're going to give you tax refunds, we're going to give you money, we're going to give you resources, just bring it all in. We're going to put some money up front, and we're going to lose some money. But we know in the long run, in 5, 10, 20 years down the road, we're all going to be rich. Or not rich, but we're all going to do very well. And I think it's the same thing here with Asimo. He's like, okay, well, Ripple's going to come in there and be like, okay, look, let's partner up. We're going to give you some money to help you build this infrastructure. Because we know down the road, 5, 10, however many years, it's going to pay off dividends for all of us. And they're like, sure, let's do it. And then off we go, and we'll see what happens. But I'd like to see these types of stories, especially with one of my investments. However, on the flip side of that coin, let's take a look at what's not going well for Ripple. Ripple can't escape the XRP lawsuit it says could topple the market. Ripple Labs Inc. failed to persuade a judge to throw out a proposed class action lawsuit. A federal judge in Oakland, California, narrowed the claims against Ripple but left largely intact a complaint by investors accusing the company of selling unregistered securities. That is the prime word right here, ladies and gentlemen. Unregistered securities. Is XRP a security? That's really what this whole thing comes down to. If you are not aware with this case, there was a group of investors, I think it's like 2 or 3 or something like that, and they had invested into XRP a long time ago. And the problem was they dumped a lot of money into it. They dumped about $300,000 into it, and it took a big dip. And they sold real quick to get out, and they lost $100,000, and they got hurt. Essentially, their feelings got hurt, and their wallet got hurt. Now, if you're in this space, you understand that cryptocurrency and digital asset market is not like the stock market. We don't see dips of like 2 to 3% and everybody loses their mind. We see dips of like 25 to 70% sometimes in a month or less. But we also see enormous gains. We can see 200, 300% gains, which what we saw in 2017. So when these people got into it, they had no idea what they were doing. They had no idea what was going on and what this market was all about, because if they did, and they would have held on, they could have made enormous gains. But they didn't, and now they're trying to sue Ripple, and that is a problem for anybody who is trying to invest into Ripple and XRP. Moving on. The judge disagreed with Ripple's argument that the lawsuit wasn't timely because it was filed more than 5 years after the XRP was offered in 2013. Ripple said, this was in one of their briefings, it would upend and threaten to destroy the established XRP market more broadly, a market involving over $500 billion in trading over the last 2 years. This is what their lawyers said in their briefing, and people have latched onto this, and I don't really understand, first of all, why it's such a big deal. You have to understand, Lawyers are in there and they're just trying to throw everything at the wall to see what'll stick, because whatever sticks is what is going to help their client get their client off so they can win the case, and their clients are happy and they pay the lawyers, everything's good. I personally have been sued, and it is the same type of thing. We try to throw as much against the wall and see what sticks. This just didn't stick. And people were saying in the comment section, oh, this will be dismissed, this will be dismissed. And I was like, no, there's no chance this case is going to be dismissed. It's going to go all the way to mediation at minimum, and at maximum, it will go to trial. There is a thing in law. I'm not a lawyer. I don't play one on TV. I don't even pretend to know much about the law itself. However, for someone who has been sued, I can tell you with a definitive fact that to get a case dismissed, you have to have, beyond all reasonable doubt, a reason for this case to be dismissed, because there is something that just doesn't make sense, or actually the whole thing must not make sense, essentially. And if there's any iota of proof or any small piece there, then the defendant or the plaintiff must have their day in court, and that is essentially what happened. It doesn't matter. Like, my case should have been dismissed, but there were some small things in there, and we went all the way to mediation. In mediation, we pretty much hashed it all out, and everything was good. This, I think, is what's going to happen. And in my personal, humble opinion, this is the same opinion I had in my last video. I believe that these people that did the investment are not idealists. They don't want to be martyred. They want money because they lost their money, and they're mad about that whole thing. So for them to get the maximum amount of money, because they know that if this goes to trial, you never know what can happen by trial. You never know. So if they can get past this little caveat, we're saying, Ripple's going, hey, we want to dismiss this. And they can say, well, okay, now we have to go to mediation or all the way to trial. Pay us. Pay us a lot of money and we'll go away. Personally, that's what I think it is. I don't see them as going, nope, I want to take you all the way to court because I want to prove my point that this is security because I stand up for what I believe in. Are you kidding me? I think these people are just in it for the money, and nothing wrong with that. That's just how I see it. Moving on, the investors claim they lost money after selling their XRP tokens because they were duped, blah, blah, blah. So this is what happened. The lawyer said, no, I'm going to let this case continue, so we'll see how it plays out in court. I believe it's going to go to mediation at minimum, maybe trial, who knows. The next question is, so all it really comes down to is XRP really a security? So what's a security? Well, first up, there is a great article on SFox, and it talks about what's the Howey Test and why does it matter for crypto. And they took a look at 3 projects, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and EOS. And the Howey Test really involves 4 parts. Is there a monetary investment? Are there expectations of profits? Is the investment in a common enterprise? And are any profits come from the efforts of a promoter or third party? Really, they should say centralized third party. So when they took a look at Bitcoin, and this was in October 2019, the SEC said, no, it is not a security. And that's why I got the green light and things are moving forward. They took the same look at Ethereum, and they said, no, Ethereum is not. And actually, William Hinman, who was the director of one of the parts of the SEC, said, based on my understanding of the present state of Ether, the Ethereum network and its decentralized keyword structure, current offers and sales of Ether are not securities transactions. And then they also took a look at EOS, and they said, is EOS a security? And they said, yeah, you're right. It is a security, and we're going to find them. And they took a look at all those 4 criteria, and here's what happened. So you think that SEC is going to crack down hard, right? They're going to really crack down because that's their job. Well, EOS raised $4 billion, and the SEC came in and said, you know what? We're going to fine you $24 million. So don't you do that again, EOS, because we're the SEC and we crack down hard. Whatever. The fine amounts to only 0.58% of the initial raise. Hilarious, I think. Here was the next question, though. So is EOS considered a security all the way through? Well, no, because in its own press release, Block One said the settlement only applies to the sale of the original ERC20 tokens it sold. And remember, this was their essentially their pre-launch. They sold ERC20 EOS tokens. Once you bought them, they could then be transferred over to the EOS on their mainnet. And I had to go through that. It wasn't too hard, pretty easy stuff. So moving forward, Block 1 statement said that its ERC20 tokens is no longer in circulation because they went on their mainnet, and will not require the token to be registered as a security with the SEC. So what happened was, before the mainnet launched, it was not decentralized. EOS was just selling these ERC20 tokens. And since it wasn't decentralized, that's when the SEC cracked down. Once they went to the mainnet, it became decentralized with their, what do they call them? Blockchain producers. And there's like 21, only 21 blockchain producers. 21, okay? 21 is considered decentralized in the SEC's eyes. Great. So now that we have all that, the big thing that I always hear in the comments is, well, Ripple and XRP aren't. I mean, XRP is not decentralized. It's all owned by Ripple. Well, not really, because here's the validators, I guess like blockchain producers or nodes. Here's all the validators for all of the XRP. So that's over 150 of them. I'm going to leave a link so you can take a look. Now you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got 7 that are actually within, actually 6. I don't know if XRP chat is. And the rest of them are just otherworldly validators. So yeah, great. So they are still decentralized as I think the SEC will see it. Am I correct? Not for sure, but that's not for me to decide, just for me to discuss. So what do you think? Let me hear about it in the comments below. And let's go on to our last story where we talk about fake horse racing. So what makes this such an interesting article? Well, first of all, what got me was this cool picture. I was like, that's pretty interesting. Pictures, visual, I always like those types of things, but this is the big thing. There's two parts here. 1 billion in sales, and 1 horse was sold for 50 Ether. Just keep that in mind. So digital racehorses with unique attributes, trade histories, and win records, all with bloodlines named for crypto luminaries like Nakamoto, Szabo, Finney, and Buterin. These are what people are going to create on the blockchain, and they're going to be able to race these types of digital horses and actually bet on them. So great. This is essentially an eSports platform. And they're partnering with the racing game Zed Run to bring horse betting to the Ethereum blockchain. The game relies on non-fungible tokens, and only 38,000 horses will ever be created on Zed, although users can breed horses from their own stable. So this is interesting. It's just like Bitcoin, essentially. There's only going to be 21 million Bitcoin ever. On this racing game, there's only going to be 38,000 horses ever. So I think if this catches on, this could be a big thing. And I know it's going to be a big thing because 1 Zed Stallion sold for 50 Ethereum. 50 Ethereum? That's over 10 grand, right? So the most interesting part about this is that this isn't even live. It goes live in a couple weeks. That's crazy. So we're looking at blockchain games, and blockchain games are not like Crypto Kitties back in 2017. They actually look like real games you would see on like Xbox. They look pretty cool stuff, or at least games that you would download on any kind of app store on Android or Apple iOS. So this is pretty cool. I want to see what happens. And real quick, eSports. You know how big eSports is? Esports is a global entertainment industry, I guess you'd call it, that's worth more than $1 billion, and audience figures exceed 433 million. So esports is a global phenomena. If you don't know about esports, it is becoming a major thing, and you can see it everywhere. I just saw it on ESPN last week, where they had what was like, not a stadium, but a pretty good auditorium that was filled with just mass amounts of people, and they were cheering, and the guy won like $1 million just for playing a game. It was amazing. So we'll see how that all works out. That is it for today's rants and stories. I want to say thanks for sticking with me through all of it. Stick with me to the end, and we're going to go through Scam of the Day. So if you're new, welcome. Scam of the Day is pretty simple. We try to get rid of all these scammers because 2020 is going to be a big year. A lot of people coming in. If you're new to cryptocurrency, here's the thing. There's scams everywhere. Treat everything as a scam until proven otherwise, okay? If you think Ripple's giving away free XRP, just contact the official website and just send them an email. Are you guys giving away XRP? They're going to tell you no. Or if you think Binance or Coinbase or OKX or Kraken or whatever is out there, Gemini, if they're giving away free, whatever, they're not. So just send them an email, they'll tell you no. So that's the first part. The second part is since you know what to look out for, there's other people that don't. there's other people that don't watch my channel, although I think they should, because I'm biased. But let's try to clean up the crap that's out there, okay? So easy way to do this is in the description of every one of my videos, there's going to be a section called Scam of the Day. And in Scam of the Day, there's going to be a link at the very bottom. We've already wiped out a ton of these scammers, so that's great. But here's we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 left. So let's see if we can get rid of one today, okay? And then some of these have just been lingering around. Like this one from January 25th. I do not know why it's still there. Wish YouTube would get on the horse. Oh my God, I can't believe it. This one is finally gone. Unbelievable. Well, thanks everybody. I appreciate that. That's great. Let's go for the next one. Oh. Hey, 2 for 2. Making money moves. All right. Well, can't be all sunshine and rainbows. So here's another scam, right? Which is fantastic. So you're going to notice that, hey, this looks legit. There's, this CZ from Binance, the CEO, and he looks like he's giving away Bitcoin. Let's see what the comments say. Well, scam, scam, scam. That doesn't prove anything. It just means that people don't like this video. But it is a red flag. So what are we looking for? We're looking for what's called a asymmetrical giveaway. And we can see that here. What is this? I can't even see it. Let's see what it says here. Here's a link. Let's take a look at the link. And the link says something stupid like, if you send us 0.1 Bitcoin, we're going to give you 0.5 Bitcoin back. If you send 0.5 Bitcoin, we'll give you 2.5 Bitcoin back. That's stupid. So no one's giving you that. You're not special. All right, no one's giving you free money. So what do? First of all, we're going to dislike this. Then we're going to report it. And let's see, spam misleading, choose one, scams and fraud, apply the links, click next, and say this is a scam. And report. And we're done. That's all you got to do. So if you could do that for those 4 or 1, that'd be fantastic. I really appreciate it. And that is it for today's video. I want to say thanks for sticking with me through the rants. I really appreciate it. If you like the types of videos, there's going to be 2 more that's going to pop up on your left and right. Don't know what they are because they are curated for your viewing pleasure by YouTube. And that is it. So I want to say thanks for sticking with me, and I'll see you on the next one.